So it's the first week of phase 2, and after the circuit breaker, I'm going to be shooting outside actually for the first time. I'm going to do the same 10 minutes, and let's see what we get. Let's go. So my first day of shooting is actually very odd. The places where they are supposed to have crowds are actually way lesser now, and places which are not supposed to have crowds, to my surprise, actually increase. I've realized that environmentally things have shifted visually, so it's actually very interesting to document all this.
The last time I painted on the streets is like what, 3-4 months ago? After the circuit breaker, the urge is here. I'm really desperate to paint. It's just nice to be on the streets again. I just want to paint. I hope that when people see my work, they will be able to relate to my message and to understand what's going on also. It's a bit of awareness about COVID-19.
Sir, do you have a mask? Don't call them sir. Miss, just call them Ane can already. They understand you're talking to them. Ane, why are you still here? He speaks to me in a language I don't understand and litters every response with sorry. He's afraid of me. 2 songs and a story. Initially, the rehearsals and all of that was all done online. Thankfully, circuit breaker kind of moved into phase 2, and it allowed us to be able to go out and record at the studio.
Save the lies to tell myself just how beaten
I hope people are inspired by the piece, because I know I definitely was.
that I am just
And it was quite funny because all along I just kept thinking I was going to film at home, and suddenly we were like, hey, we're going to film outside. I think what the piece really did needed was that kind of treatment, the studio treatment that cannot be replicated in my bedroom. And I think this is really a clear testament to how important the stage is. I think that really cold and big and grand energy was what the songs really required.
that's okay.
I do think in the next year or so, it would be challenging just to even have live performances. The progression to be able to have 10 people in the room, 20 people in a room, 50 people in a room, 1,000 people in a room. Even just saying it just feels so foreign right now and such a distant thing.
So the future of DJing and clubbing, I would assume that it's gonna have a very slow start. I saw some clips on Facebook where there was a club opened and the whole dance floor was like maybe like 50 chairs and people glued to their chair and just dancing to the DJ right in front of you.
Whole circuit breaker is picking up. I have a few more commission coming up. My deadlines are packed. Good problem I face now. Because after these few jobs, I don't know what's gonna happen next. Let's see how.
I think the live entertainment industry needs help as well, apart from other industries. There was a survey recently that showed that a small number of Singaporeans think that artists are non-essential. I think in the bigger scheme of things, especially in a pandemic, I would understand why these people think that we are not as essential as the people whose jobs are to handle the pandemic directly. But even though we're labeled as non-essential in this survey, I see that our work is still very much appreciated.
I find it's really funny that they even mention artists being essential or not. I don't think that's a proper role to be even on that list. I won't say they're right or wrong, but it's a form of expression and really enhance and boost up the entire morale of people, the voice of people through art.
If you look at it in a different way, without art, there won't be the unique substance around all of us.
For me, I choose to be hopeful only because It is important to dream in order to achieve, as cheesy as that sounds. Arts to me is very important because arts is the one thing that helps us create stories or tell stories that allow us to dream.
We are the lifeblood or the intangible that's what makes us Singaporean. We are not a physical thing like a food, or we are not a monument necessarily, but we are what makes the Singaporean identity complete in that sense. We constantly provide for the unquantifiable parts of Singapore. And these are very valuable because they form part of our Singaporean identity.
This December, behold life-changing events with tales of adventure, inner strength and discovery. A Deadly Ascent, the untold story of overcrowding, environmental damage and tragedy on the world's highest summit. Strangers in My Head. Follow the stories of individuals searching for their place in society amidst their struggle with mental health issues. Into the Vault, discover little secrets about Singapore and find the answers to your burning questions about the past. This December on CNA.
Food in our time, for me, is really to look at what is happening in a different side of the world.
I think it's time for the revolution.
I explore Peru to find ingredients that I have never seen before.
The channel of the year is CNA from Singapore's Media Corp. We're tracking the top news stories across Asia. Hong Kong disqualifies 4 opposition
Chinese markets leading the game.
They are losing patience.
That's why the protest is here.
I just got sprayed. My entire face is stinging right now.
One of the most diverse places on the planet.
Another big question remains.
Biggest loser on Hong Kong's Hang Seng.
Inside, an urban park awaits.
Pummeling Micronesia, firefighting Guam.
This is Singapore Tonight.
Good evening, I'm Jill Newbrunner. Tonight's top stories. Bandera Bay at St. John's Island to open to the public next year on scheduled programs. Getting close to nature but flouting safe distancing measures. NParks wraps more than 700 park and nature reserve visitors for that. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong to address the nation live tomorrow on the pandemic and the outlook for next year. Tracing the origins of hawker centres ahead of the outcome of the bid to put Singapore hawker culture on the UNESCO list. A pristine bay at St. John's Island will open to the public early next year, but only through scheduled programs. Bandera Bay follows the indigenous Malay name for St. John's Island, and it is a place to learn about the area's natural and cultural heritage. National Development Minister Desmond Lee and Speaker Tan Chuan Jin announced its reopening. Isabel Lim has more.
It's a slice of paradise right here in Singapore. And for almost 30 years, it was home to former islander Akim Giman.
So these are places where we all go for swimming and do some fishing.
Mr. Akim and other residents left Bandara Bay during the 1970s, when authorities encouraged them to move to the mainland.
Those were the days. So hopefully we we encourage more people to come here and enjoy the life here.
Mr. Akin, who's almost 70, is set to get his wish for people to explore Bendera Bay. Once off limits to the public, it will reopen from early next year, subject to COVID-19 restrictions. The area spans about 4 hectares on the eastern side of the island, and it contains a variety of natural habitats, including coral reefs and mangroves. People may join scheduled heritage tours conducted by former islanders, or even dabble in a bit of recreation.
So 17 cm is the matured length. Yeah, so we will release this fish.
But with an eye on sustainability.
For places like Bendera Bay, right, we can use it as a location to conduct these kind of courses, to teach the anglers on the right way of fishing.
The intent is more for the public to have an idea of how to interact responsibly with the environment. So we'll continue to monitor, and that's why we don't have open access. It's not a destination we're trying to promote for tourism.
Ongoing studies have found that the entire Southern Islands is rich in biodiversity. For example, it's home to several endangered species like the oriental turtle dove, the spotted wood owl, and hawksbill turtle, whose movements are being tracked to understand their nesting patterns better.
As a small cluster of islands, very unique. It includes both the terrestrial as well as the marine elements. Unlike many other areas, we actually have a very big